Welcome into episode 3 of the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network, our podcast-style coaches show. Fielder Dennis talking football with Coach Delane Fitzgerald. Coach, a 52-14 win this Saturday on the road in Athens, West Virginia against Concord. How does it feel to pick up that first win of the season?
It feels good. It feels real good. Guys went on the road and handled the road trip and handled the hotel and the back roads of West Virginia and the curves and all that. They handled everything very, very well, and they played extremely hard for 3 hours on Saturday.
Coach, the term statement win gets thrown around. In your opinion, do you think it's a statement win or is this another week just in ordinary business?
We win a lot at Frostburg State in the football program, and we expect to win each Saturday. So I don't know if a statement win is the right I don't know if it's the right tag to put on that game Saturday, but our kids were excited to play. There was an energy in the locker room. There was an energy when we got on the bus at the hotel, 2 hours before we got there to Concord, and the guys were ready to play. We're not done this fall. We're not done. That's not a statement.
Coach, after a tough loss the week prior, what was the message to the team going into the game on Saturday in weeks of preparation?
The same as it always is. We come back on Sunday after it would have been Friday after the loss to West Virginia State, and we went through all the corrections and things that we didn't do correctly, things that we didn't execute. And that's things that we didn't execute as a coaching staff and what our players didn't execute, and we fixed some things. And so we worked, the week in between, we worked on fixing what we had messed up the week before, and then we worked on preparation for what we were doing against Concord on Saturday.
Coach, Bobcat fans, I've heard you say it on your time here on the Bobcast, and I said it a couple of times during the game on Sunday. You really preach the importance of special teams being one of the three phases of the game. And on Saturday, it looked like the Bobcats dominated all three phases. How important was it to get that special teams win on Saturday?
Yeah, our kickoff on Saturday was as good as it's been in the 6 years we've been here as a staff. Jeremy Harrison was kicking the ball well, and he was spotting it where we were asking him to kick the ball to. So he was on target on Saturday. And then we had 10 guys that were ripping and running, looking to hit somebody on kickoff team. And whenever you're doing that, it's fun to coach them. But you are correct. We were better on teams the second week than we were as the first week. Fielder, the biggest jump and improvement is from game 1 to game 2, and we made a jump. We got better from West Virginia State to Concord. Now we have the challenge of getting better between Concord and West Liberty.
Coach, you got the blocked punt and you got the blocked kick. How does those plays are such big momentum boosters? Did that really kind of fuel that's the sideline early in the game?
Yeah, George Richardson blocked the punt, did a nice job on that one, and then Leonard Scott blocked the field goal. And they're both two freshmen for us, long, athletic young men that if they stay the course are going to be good college football players for us. They know my displeasure with the way they finished the game, though. Both of them have to be better at after you block a punt, you can't get real satisfied and then just be a lush for the rest of the game. You've got to be a good player the rest of the game also. The same thing, you block a field goal, you can't get satisfied with yourself and not be a good player for the rest of the day. You've got to finish the game. Really good college athletes and pro athletes in any sport, they don't get satisfied after one play. They keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming. They keep executing. They keep playing with a high motor, a high level of intensity. Those two young men have to learn to do that. Our entire team has to learn to do that. But you're right. The blocking the punt and blocking the field goal are huge momentum shifts and putting all the momentum in our favor, and they did that on Saturday. I just want those young men and the rest of the young men in our program to finish games.
Coach, you mentioned George Richardson. We've seen a lot of him here early in the season, kind of a tight end wide receiver. He's got great size, like you said. Is he kind of a gadget player in the offense in that he's a mismatch for a lot of defenses?
No, we don't have any gadget players. What's that mean?
It's a term in football they're using nowadays.
Yeah, we don't have gadget players. We recruit really, really good football players and good young men here. And George going forward, if George wakes up every morning for the next 4 years and his mind is on improving academically and improving athletically, George is going to be something special 4 years from now. Same thing with Leonard Scott, the young man that blocked the field goal. And all the rest of the freshmen. Our freshman class is really, really good, but so is our sophomore, junior, and senior class. When the alarm clock goes off in the morning, if those young men will focus on getting a little bit better that day, getting a little bit better that day, getting a little bit better that day, they're all going to be very, very good football players, and we're going to have a very good football program.
Running back Gavin Levant became the first running back to score 3 rushing touchdowns since Grayson Boyce did it back in 2017. Just talk about how he just kind of dominated that first quarter and first half on.
Grayson Boyce, we miss him around here now.
He's an H-back.
Grayson Boyce was a great football player at every position. We could have put him at center, could have put him at nose guard. He's a good football player. On Gavin, Gavin has been really good since he's been here, and he's been here a lot of years now. When Gavin is focused and dialed in, when Gavin wants to be there and he's focused and dialed in on playing, our opponents are in trouble. Because Gavin can run. He can run around you. He can run through you. He can run over top of you. He can run by you. He's a good football player. And Gavin had it working on Saturday, especially in the first half. And they had a really hard time tackling him. They had a hard time running him down, tackling him the whole bit.
Coach, you went into half. You had the lead. Concord gets a late score, and then you're coming out. You defer in the first half, and you receive the kick. And you start that second half off. They squib the kick. Isaiah Horn gets a great return. And then what we call the drive of the game, you just kind of march down there almost casually and punch it in to give yourself 28 points. What was the message at halftime and the focus going into the second half?
Yeah, Fielder, they won the toss and took the football, which not many teams do, and big slap in our face. Obviously, they haven't looked at our defensive statistics for the last 4 or 5 years. They took the football not thinking we'd be ready to play on defense, not thinking our defense was any good. That they had a thought process that I don't understand. But they won the toss and took the football, and we were able to get a stop in that first drive. So we had the football the first drive of the second half. We've got the good kickoff return. Isaiah Horn's a good football player. We're waiting on him to turn loose and have a great season one of these days. But he's a good football player, and he had a good return there. And then we ran the 2 plays and touchdown. Jawan Worrell, his first touchdown as a college player, another really good freshman that we have that is in the same boat with the rest of them, needs to improve each day. But Jawan, Will Brunson checked the play into a pass, and we ran a pass play, and Jawan got loose in the secondary and scored. Just kept the momentum going that we had from being up 7 in the first half, Fielder. You asked what the message was at halftime. The message to all the young men is how much do you want this? How bad do you want this first win? And they had a really good look in their eye, and I said, well, whoever plays the hardest for the next hour and 20 minutes is going to win this football game, and that's what they did. We went out and had an intensity and a focus and a stick-to-itiveness that Concord did not have in the second half, and we just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and it was really fun to watch.
Will Brunson had another quality game, completed 70% of his passes, threw for over 200 yards, a touchdown, had an interception, but it was a great play by the defense on a tipped pass. He's been great, Coach, these past 2 games. What have you seen for him that you've really liked?
Yeah, Will Brunson's a good football player, and he's coach's son. He's a coach's son. His dad's a very successful coach in South Carolina, so Will does a nice job, and he understands the game of football, and he understands athletics in general. We're happy to have Will here. If Will stay within our offense and within our football program, Will's going to have a good fall here, going to have a great senior season, and good for him. We always talk about the number 65 with our quarterback, and we're looking for Will to be 65% completion percentage. And if he does that, if Will gets to around 65% completion percentage, and our offensive line continues to protect him the way they've protected him. We haven't given up a sack in the first 2 games. If they continue to protect Will, we're going to have a good fall.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned that offensive line. They got 230 yards rushing and then 226 yards passing. That offensive line, like you said, keeping Brunson clean, how great have they been in these past 2 games?
Yeah, and then you think we're replacing 3 great players up front.
But Gene Robinson being out, too.
Yeah, we have 4 of our starters from last year aren't playing. Gene will be back this week, and good for us and good for him. I'll talk a little bit about the players, but Angelo LeVar is our offensive line coach here, and we're fortunate now. We have an offensive line coach here that's, he's in his retirement years, but he's far from retired. But he's won 100 games as a college head coach, and he's won 100 games as a high school head coach. And I believe at any level we have the best offensive line coach in the country. This university and our football program are very fortunate to have Angelo LeVar as our offensive line coach. Coming into the season, that was our big question mark, was up front on the O-line. Has not been a question mark. He's turned them into football players very, very quickly. And now some of the other areas of our football program are the question marks. But you talked about it. Yeah, Riley Hartman graduated and is now coaching with us, and Joey Powell has graduated, and O'Shane McCall has graduated, and then Gene tweaked his ankle in the first game. So we went in there Saturday and we played probably 10, 11, 12 offensive linemen during the course of the game, and they all graded out at 60+%. They all had a really, really good day. And give credit to the kids' parents and the kids at, at who they are and what they are, because the young men have worked hard, offensive linemen, to be better each week this year, but they are coached extremely well, and Angelo does a great job with them, and then Riley Hartman, as his assistant, has done a great job this fall.
Not only getting a push up front, but also not getting those silly penalties, false starts, holdings. They're doing a great job with that.
We got 2 false starts on Saturday that we got to clean up.
Mm-hmm. Not as many as you think with the younger guys.
No, those young freshmen, 2 false starts. But you said, but we rushed for 230 yards, and as a head coach, you kind of cross your arms on the sideline and get to thinking, how good are we going to be in 3 or 4 years up front when those freshmen are seniors? You get to thinking, heck, man, maybe I got a season left of eligibility. I'll play tailback here in 4 years.
Coach, we'll move to the defense. They pitched a shutout, including 57 yards allowed in the third quarter. I mean, those linebackers are just flying around. What was key for Coach Kelling's defense?
Yeah, John does a nice job. The entire defensive staff does a nice job of getting the guys ready. We had a lapse in the first half. We gave up a 90-yard touchdown drive that should not have happened. And then at the end of the first half, the interception by our offense put our defense in a bad situation. So if you look at the whole day, the whole 3 hours of football we played from 12 o'clock to 3 p.m. on Saturday, the 90-yard drive is really the big negative, because the interception put them in a bad situation. We were going to give up points there. They came out in the second half, shut them out in the second half, and played extremely hard. We were up so much that we played a bunch of the young guys in the fourth quarter and into the fourth quarter, and they gave up some yards, but they didn't give up any points, and that was impressive. Coach Kelling, John Kelling, stresses this with the players, and when our guys do this, we're really, really good. When we play fast on defense, when our guys run and play really fast on defense, we've been really good in the past, and we were really good again on Saturday.
Yeah, Brochart, Palmer, Matt Meyer, Monty Jones, a lot of hits on the quarterback, and like you said, they were flying around and taking some heads off. Carl Igwe had a monster game, 3.5 tackles for loss. He's got 4.5 tackles for loss this year compared to 6 last season. He's just kind of been a force up front. Zach Strand's kind of getting more of the offensive line shifts. It's Igwe. He's just taking advantage of these opportunities.
Sure. We've been waiting here for a while for Carl to come on, and Carl hadn't peaked yet. He has better football. He can play better football than he played on Saturday. We like Carl since we recruited him here and are happy to have him, and he's now a junior. And he's just an imposing type figure. He walks in a room and he's 6'4.5", and he's 265, 260, 265, whatever he weighs here. And you're right. Everybody's sliding the offensive line to Zach Strand, so he gets all the attention in the double teams. And when you double one of the defensive linemen, you have to leave the other defensive end completely. You have to leave him in a one-on-one situation. Carl's taking advantage of that. We are eventually – Carl's going to figure it out, and we're going to wake up, and Carl's going to have a 10-tackle, 3-sack game eventually.
Yeah, Zach Strand the numbers aren't necessarily there, but he's still making impact. He's getting quarterback hurries. He's getting in the way on those quick bubble screens. He's still being an imposing force.
Zach has been a good leader for us, and he's been a good leader going back to last year's sophomore year. And there are good things to come for Zach.
The shutout pitched in the second half. How important was that for your sideline? Looked like you guys really wanted to get that. I really want to make a statement on that.
I didn't want to give up the touchdown there at the end.
Yeah.
You got your young guys in there, and they're getting experience and getting playing time. You didn't want to give up any points there at the end, and we didn't. Is it important for morale? Yeah, it was a good thing.
Coach, you mentioned the young guys that played a lot. How big is that for just getting reps in big-time situations? Obviously, late in the game, they're getting that experience on the road, and a couple of young DBs made some nice plays in the end zone. That's just so valuable for a team and young guys to see.
Our defensive staff has done a nice job with the rotation and the defensive rotation. So young guys during the course of the game, and the average fan doesn't understand it, but young guys during the course of a game are getting reps that you don't see and preparing them for in the future when they're going to be starters and going to be leaders and all that. So they've done a nice job defensively that way. Probably more important than that is the offensive part of it is a bunch of young guys that hadn't played on offense got to play on Saturday and get reps for the future.
Coach, West Liberty on Thursday, it's a short week. They have one of the top passing offenses in the MEC. What challenges does that pose to the team coming on a short week?
Yeah, vertical passing attack, and they throw it deep so much that if if you don't know what you're looking at, they make it seem like they're throwing the football on every down. They've ran 150 plays this year, and it's 76 run and 74 pass. So they're trying to be balanced as 50-50 as you can be. You can't forget about one and focus too much on the other, or they'll get you in trouble. I like their quarterback. I think he's a good player. The tight end, number 8, is a really good player. And then they've got a wide receiver, number 84, that's a good player. So they have some weapons on offense, and we've got to do it. You're not going to completely stop them, but we've got to do a nice job of containing them there.
Short week, how does that change preparations? I mean, going from Saturday to Thursday, this is not something you've really had to deal with, at least not last year.
Yeah, you normally win a game, you invoke the 24-hour rule. You let the coaches and you let the players enjoy themselves for 24 hours. You let them feel good about themselves. Well, after the game on Saturday, we gave them the 15-minute rule. We told them they had 15 minutes, and then we were going to flip over and start to West Liberty. We started breaking film and watching film and doing tendency computations and tendencies and all the other stuff that we do as a coaching staff. We started doing it Saturday on the way home from Athens, West Virginia. So as soon as we got on the bus as a coaching staff, we flipped to West Liberty. Fielder, for our players, it's more mental than it is physical. But as of yesterday, they should have gotten their mind on West Liberty and gotten their mind off of Concord. Let's stop signing autographs for Saturday and get our minds right on being really, really good Thursday night.
Well said, Coach Delaney Fitzgerald. Thank you so much for joining us. Really looking forward to the game Thursday. Should be a fun one for sure.
Thank you for having me. Go Bobcats.
Back here on the Bobcast, Fielder Dennis with Coach Becky Fletcher. Coach, pretty successful weekend this past weekend here at the Frostburg State Tournament. This is the best 5-game start, 4-1, best 5-game start in your 9-year tenure. What has been the difference between the years?
We've typically started our season with 4 matches in one weekend, and this has been a little bit more of a drawn out process. And so I think that our athletes have had some time to, maybe see our first Division II match and then go back and practice and then go see another Division II team and go back and practice. So I think that ability to adjust and train over a longer period of time. Typically at this point in a Division III schedule, we would have, 8 to 12 matches already played, and right now we have 6, or 5. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's got to be great to go from a game and then you can break it down in the gym and then play another game. Like you said last year, it'd be game, and you're trying to make those adjustments. Like, hey, when you're doing, you're telling the team, hey, instead of when we're trying to set this up, we're going to do this. More so you can go, okay, let's get back to the drawing board today and for tomorrow's game. That's got to be great for a coaching staff.
Yeah, there have been times where we play 4 matches in under 24 hours, and now we've been able to spread our schedule out, and we're playing the same amount of matches as we did last year, just over a lot more time. So to see our athletes train and develop and try new things that they've been trying in practice in a match has made them more successful, I think.
A lot of new faces taking center stage. What have you seen from the new faces this year, and some of the same faces but having a bigger role? Like, for example, Raven Pratt has had some impactful plays here early in the season.
Yeah, Raven came into our gym last year. She was a bit of a surprise for us, and she just has such great work ethic, and she's so strong and she's willing to learn, and she's really taken to Biamba, and Biamba's kind of took her under her wing and said, Raven, we're going to make you a great middle hitter, and she's done just that. There's rarely a day or a moment where I'm like, Raven, you're not working hard. I don't think I've ever been able to say that. And to see her take everything you say and process it and take it to heart and then go out there and perform just like she's doing it has been a lot of fun to coach. And then, Edwina and Jackie have had great starts to their freshman career here at Frostburg. They're surrounded by a really great group of other newcomers. So, they're consistent in their energy, they're consistent in how they train, they're consistent in how they perform. That when Ed's going to go up to set a ball, we're gonna have some really great things behind it. Or when she goes back to the service line, she's bringing some heat behind that serve, and she's been really successful on the service line so far this year.
You talked about Sarenberg, and Ultimus has had a great start to the season as well. They're kind of a 1-2 punch on those outsides. You're setting them up. It's been really impactful and really really positive. Just talk about, I guess, how Ultimus has done here early in the season.
Yeah, Haley, we moved Haley from the outside to the right side a little bit last year, but we've been doing it a little bit more this year. She seems to be a bit more successful. It's a little bit faster of a ball on the right side for her, which she hits well. She is able to hit off of 1 foot occasionally on a slide approach, and she looked at me when we first taught her that, and we first talked about that. And she's like, "That just feels really easy, and that just feels really natural." So she's been successful there. The other thing she brings to that right side is some people say she makes blocking look easy over there. She really likes to block. She's very good at it, and that helps our team out quite a bit when she's able to put up a strong right side block for us.
You mentioned Sternberg and Linez with their impressive starts, and you spoke about how they're really adjusting and acclimating to this culture. How important is it to get those first years just to kind of buy into their roles early? Because you're asking, especially Edwina, to do a lot as the setter, and Sternberg, like Ultimus on that other side, they're playing quality big minutes here for early.
Yeah, they're playing a lot. They're seeing a lot of balls. They're involved in almost every play, at least one of them, if not both of them. Um, I think they're competitors, so they relish that role quite a bit. They want the ball. They want the ball to come at them. They want the ball to be set. Jackie wants the big ball to be set to her. So I don't think it's a huge strain on them or a huge transition for them. They both come from really successful clubs and really successful high school programs, so I think they're used to that at some level. But it's just been fun seeing them adjust to the speed of the game, or Jackie especially, seeing a much bigger block than she's ever seen before consistently. And I think they're going to have a great 4 years here.
Kalo and Corey Smothers have split some time at libero, low starting against Lincoln or at Lincoln and versus Bowie State. Sometimes I've seen in the game against Bowie State here at home, you brought in Smothers with Low on the floor, so kind of a double libero, if you will.
Yeah.
They is that something schematically you're going to use in the future, or is this just kind of a flip flop thing?
They've both been doing such a great job in practice and in matches that we've kind of wanted to give both the opportunities to show what they can do when they're in that libero jersey. And I feel like they're going to be battling it out for a lot of the season, and that's a good thing when
Yeah,
we have got
definitely.
that much competition in practice. And then it's really great because when one's not in libero, the other one's playing DS for one of our pin hitters and goes in, and to have them in there beside each other is very reliable. They're reliable. They work hard. They bring great energy to the court, and it's great for our newbies that may be on the court with them to have that experience behind them, backing them up.
Next 8 games are on the road beginning this weekend in the Carolinas. What will you be preaching to your team as it prepares for conference play? You're going to be on the road a lot here, so you're going to get a lot of bonding time.
Yeah, right. A lot of mandatory family fun time.
Mm-hmm.
The next 2 weeks, at the end of these 2 weeks, we open up with some conference play. We need to make sure that we become a little bit more consistent. We were able to rely on some other teams to make some errors to score our points, but we need to be able to score our own points and finish some points and, see that big block and be able to hit around it and make smart decisions from there.
Coach Becky Fletcher, thanks for joining us, and have fun in the Carolinas as we come up
Thanks.
this weekend.
Thank you.
Back here on the Bobcast, Field Gymnastics with Coach Keith Burns. Coach made a statement win with a 3-0 shutout of West Liberty on Sunday. How did it feel to get that first conference win, and how is the progression from Shepherd to Concord to now? How is that really shaping up?
Well, it feels good. I mean, you always want to get on the books with the W, especially since conference play starts so early. The progression is, I mean, it's slow. I think we've got a lot of work to do, but the guys are putting the effort in practice, and we're trying to just translate what we do in practice to the games, and finally get on the scoreboard with something we worked on all week was just a little bit more offensive minded maybe, and some different players did some different things in the game that maybe we hadn't had happen the past two, which allowed us to be a little bit more successful in the attacking third. And overall, like, we'll always take a shutout on the road. Is always a good thing.
1-1-1 on the season, 1-0-1 in conference play. But Coach, the good news is you're finally home. You'll be hosting Urbana. We'll get into that later. But how big was it to get these results? You're basically even 1-1-1. on the season, on all those games being on the road. Is that something road warriors, if you will, that you're proud to see from the guys?
Not really. We would have preferred a couple more wins, I think. But the schedule is what it is. You just got, everyone's got to deal with that stuff at some point during the season. It would have been nice to come away with a couple more than just the 4 points out of the 3 games. But yeah, hopefully being home, we can, get back on track a little bit better, maybe get on a roll. But I think the competition also starts to pick up a little bit based on the preseason rankings. So we've got our work cut out for us. So we definitely got to, we've got to be focused and have a good week of practice leading up to these next couple of games.
Looking at the West Liberty match, all the goals came within 7 minutes and 5 seconds of each other. Was it just the offense just started clicking and fireworks were going? What was working for those guys?
Well, I didn't think we started the match particularly well. The first 20 minutes or so was just kind of blah. Then we made some substitutions, and to the credit, the guys that came in off the bench, I thought picked up the level of play, a little bit more intensity. They were a little sharper on the ball, and they created more chances. And they were very, very efficient. It's not like we, put 10 shots on frame in that time period. I think it was, 3 shots and 3 goals basically. But they just did what we had asked them to do, more so than some of the other guys were in the first 20.
Coach, I know in basketball, teams always like to have production off the bench. For soccer, as you said, those substitutes getting 6 of the 7 shots and all 3 goals being substitutes. Does that throw any wrinkles into the starting lineups, or do you like to have those options coming off the bench in the middle of the game?
No, yeah. I mean, we've been playing pretty much 18, sometimes 19 kids a game because I do think we are deep enough and the talent level is close enough in a lot of the positions. The back line probably gets rotated the least, but we are capable of rotating some players in and out of the lineup based on performance and just based on a gut feeling or if someone's having a bad week. It is kind of nice to know when you bring people in, there's guys that can make an impact, or you can rotate some people into the lineup and other guys will come off the bench. So it is the depth I think is important, and we've talked about it all year with these guys. And I think we have more than 11 starters, so not everyone's going to get to start. So at some point they're going to have to come off the bench, but they just got to perform as if they're in that mindset of being a starter.
The guys have a few games under their belt. Do you feel like they're starting to kind of settle in here now that they're going to have some home games? They've played the Division II competition now 3 times and seen some MEC action. Are they starting to kind of, I guess, relax or exhale, if you will?
No, that's not really our style. We're better playing at a more high pace. I don't want to say frantic, but just up tempo. So they're not really settling in, and I don't think they were happy with the second half. We tried to get a lot of people in and changed up the lineup a little bit, and we didn't play as well. And I think they were a little disappointed in that. So even when some guys got some opportunities, or even the guys that started, we didn't take control of that second half the way we should have with a 3-0 lead. I think we got a little complacent. So again, there's still work to be done, and yeah, I still think we're looking for what clicks the best based on formation and personnel. The nice part is we do have some options. We've played 2 different formations, and we've also used some different lineups. So maybe it keeps people guessing, but also keeps our guys on their toes and knows that based on what we're looking for, some other guys may get a chance.
You mentioned the substitution. The back line is what gets substituted the least. Talking about them, how have they shaped up, including Joe LaSalle had a great year last year, same with Blake Getz. How are they holding up that defensive side of the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. I mean, we've talked about that every time. I mean, that's, again, kind of what our strength is going to be. I think we should be in every game because our backline and keeper can keep us in it if there's breakdowns in front of them. Hopefully it's just not too many of those breakdowns because obviously law of averages say eventually the other team will get a goal. But if they keep playing the way they're playing, and I do think, again, they're getting better too. They're improving game to game, and with 2 new guys plugged in back there now, they're still kind of learning to be a cohesive unit. But again, we have some depth in the back, which is nice. So we've got some guys coming off the bench that played significant minutes last year, and Joel's just, I think he's really just more focused this year, and he'll be very, very unhappy when he gives up a goal. So his job is to keep that ball out of the net.
Coach Urbana was picked 3rd in the MEC. You mentioned them. You're playing some higher competition here. You see them Wednesday here at home. What kind of challenges do they bring to the table?
Just another good team. Again, I can't
Yeah.
talk too much about any of their players really, without having played them yet. But yeah, picked third in the conference. There must be a reason for that. So they have a history of being one of the top teams and being strong. And I think we expect that pretty much every game from here on out. Even with the ones we've played already, when we get them the second time around, nothing's going to come easy in this conference, which is kind of fun. I mean, it's got to be prepared every day, or else you'll take the L. So, should be a fun one on Wednesday.
Coach, are you excited to get your chance to play one of the top 3 teams in the preseason poll in the MEC? Just to get a taste of what it's like to play some of the top tier teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for the guys to prove to themselves where they're at. Obviously a good result really builds the confidence, and if it's a close game or a loss, at least they know they're right there with them. But yeah, I mean, we need to start seeing kind of how we stack up from top to bottom here, and playing a team that was picked third is a good way to start.
How do you springboard the win from Sunday against West Liberty into these 2 matches with Urbana and then Wheeling on Sunday?
I just build on the positives, the things we did well, just reinforce that stuff, and try to do it more and just execute a little bit sharper maybe. And we can look at the film to see where the negatives were and just where we fell a little short, and just try to improve that over the week.
I said Wheeling on Saturday. I meant Sunday. Men's soccer now doing the Sunday games. How have you? Has there been any adjustment period having to play on Sundays rather than Saturdays that we had last year in the CAC?
That's probably more so for the players than us. I mean, it's actually kind of nice doing an early Saturday morning practice and having the whole afternoon off, and then if it's not an overnight, we don't leave till Sunday morning, and then still get back at a reasonable time for some of the trips. So, and then in October we only have one Sunday game, the rest are on Saturday, so it's kind of like half and half this year. So it's kind of nice, but I mean it's different, but again, is what it is.
Rolling with the punches.
Yep.
Coach Keith Burns, thank you for joining us here on the Bobcast. Looking forward to these games this week. Finally getting to see the team here at home and on Wednesday and Sunday. Really looking forward to it.
I appreciate it.
Back here on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. Fielder Dennis with Coach Caitlin Thompson. Coach, you're back from your trip to the Midwest, and what can you report on what you saw from the team, and some positives and some negatives?
Yeah, so I think overall the trip wasn't too bad. Our game against Lindenwood was a really great game. We had a talk before we went out there with the team about how we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard and how we just need to be accountable for the little things on and off the field in order for it to show better on the field. Mm-hmm. And I think it did show in our Lindenwood game. Our press worked really well against them. We were able to, score against them, and that's a really tough team that we played against. So, I think our girls did a really great job against, again, such a tough team. And I think that our trip to the Midwest was a nice, bonding experience. The girls all were we did a couple team bonding activities, and it was just really fun stuff on and off the field. But yeah, our game against Bellarmine, we definitely took a step backwards as a team. Just we could have done a little bit more to help support our teammates. So that was kind of disappointing, but we're looking ahead now. We have a full week of practice to kind of work on some of the things that we know we need to work on, and then looking ahead to our next 2 games this upcoming week.
Coach, you mentioned a couple of team bonding activities. What can happen for a locker room? What can be learned in a locker room on a trip like that? Like you said, it's a great chance for the team to really get to know each other. I mean, they're all heading on the bus. Everyone's in a central location. Do you think that some growth and development was made this past week?
Yeah, because everybody, I think our team gets along really well. Of course, some people get along more than others, but, I think as a general whole, our team doesn't really have any problems on it. So, if you get an opportunity to have a girl who normally hangs out with these people, hang out with the other people, it makes us even closer as a team. And I think we were able to do that during this trip, and it was, just an excellent experience. It helps, the coaching staff get to know the girls a little bit more too. So I think that was great. One of the things that we did was we had the girls do a little speed dating session with all of their teammates. So, and their goal was to find out something that nobody else knew about them. And I think, even girls who've been best friends on the team for 3+ years, like
Hmm.
a freshman found out something that they didn't even know about their best friend. So it was a pretty cool experience for in that aspect.
Yeah, it is. That's those are cool opportunities because especially at this age, college and you're all together. But that's a lot of time spent together, so you got to get to know one another. Coach, you spoke about the Lindenwood game, and it was a really pretty good game, specifically the second half. A really well-rounded game. But what was the difference in your opinion that separated? You mentioned a little bit of it earlier, but specifically, what do you think? What was the difference?
I just think, we played with a lot of energy in that second half. We really trusted each other. So we were able to stay in our own positions because we were trusting each other. So, we weren't all flocking to ball because, if one person was on the ball, we were like, okay, she's got ball. I
Hmm.
got this girl over here. Um, so I think that was huge for our team, and I don't think it was something that we carried into the next game. But I think that we know that it's there. We know that it can work. So when we show that in film, like, hey, if
Yeah.
we play like this, like if we trust each other like this, later on in the season, those become wins. So, I think that there's a lot to build off of. Obviously, a lot to fix, but we saw a lot of good stuff to build off of as well.
Coach, you've spoken about energy a lot this season and the motto "Level Up." How do you build that energy? How do you get it from the start? It's such a difficult thing to have. Is it just a matter of mental preparation for the team? I mean, how do you orchestrate that energy from beginning to end?
Yeah, I think it comes from within, and I think that, it does start right off the bat. I think energy is so important for especially this year because I don't have that timeout anymore to
Yeah.
burn, essentially. Like it
Hmm.
has to come from within the team. So, a lot of at practice, the captains have their own captain timeout at practice. So that way they can gather the team when things aren't looking great and be like, hey, this is what we need to do. Let's get it together. Because again, I don't have the ability to do that on the field. They have the ability to do it on the field. I don't. So we have to essentially work for 15 minutes before I can pull in the team together and say anything that needs to be said. So the team has to do a really good job of recognizing it in the moment and waking up in that moment and knowing what they have to do. And I do think we have done that at times, but I think there's also been times where we haven't necessarily done that.
Logan Gladden's been a difference maker on the offensive side of the ball. Three of the four goals she's got this year. How has she just been impactful um, in here early in the season, especially on that road trip?
Yeah, so she's doing a great job of getting into her hot spots. We have to look back at the film. I think the first Bellarine's goal, I think, was Gabby, and we have to look at Lyndon Woods. That might have been Sam Coffey's goal. But either way, she's getting to the hot spots of where she needs to be, and I think going back to like Coffee and Gabby, they're doing a
Hmm.
great job of setting up plays and getting the ball up the field. And like I said, Logan's doing a good job of really going with them and getting into a spot because I know even if they weren't her goals, she's still in a spot where it's close enough that they could have
Yeah,
been her goals.
she's in the
So,
mix.
yeah, so I think she's doing a good job of getting herself into like a post position or a stroke position so that way she's able to get a tip on the ball and put it towards cage.
Coach, this is coming from a complete novice in field hockey, but it seems this year compared to last year, Gladden, Coffey, Brahuba, there just seems to be some more creativity on the
Mhm.
offensive end, a lot more chances, and seeing what Gladden and Rahuba and Coffey have done, it's got to be encouraging from the standpoint of you're going to get some chances with those three when they're on their game.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the best our attack has looked in the 3 seasons that I've been here. And yeah, I think that their ball control skills have just increased real so much over the past couple years, and just their ability to do some give and go passing up the
Hmm.
field. Like our attacking unit is really firing together a lot more this year. We just have to kind of get over that one goal hump.
Yeah.
So
Replicate.
we're scoring now, and we're getting satisfied with that goal, but we have to want it. We have to want even more, and we're there. We're getting the opportunities. We just have to knock them home.
Rahuba scored early against Bellarmine yesterday, and how do you sustain the defensive effort when you get an early lead? And it was like 3 minutes in the game, so it's tough to hold the fort down for the rest of the game. But how do you just preach, hey, we got to keep on it offensively, at the same time tighten up defensively?
Yeah, it just kind of comes from within the team. We can't be satisfied with that goal going in, especially 3 minutes into the game. Like, there's so much game left to be played. We can't just sit back and kind of rest at that point, because there's just too much game to be played. So we have to want more offensively, and defensively, again, it's that trust issue. We can't, like, as the ball comes down, we can't be like, oh gosh, we're going to lose our lead. Like, we have to be able to be confident in ourselves and really step to ball and keep up the great pressure that we did against Lindenwood. So I think that kind of we kind of suffered in that aspect against Bellarmine.
For the first 5 games, have been on the road, and this isn't just you've been in Pennsylvania and Eastern Maryland. You've been in Missouri and Kentucky, so it's truly been on the road. Are you happy to be home soon? You've got Senior Day coming up against Coker. Is it just nice to be able to sleep in your own bed and wake up and go play field hockey?
Yeah, of course. I'm really excited for our senior night game against Coker on Saturday. I know the seniors this year have really worked hard to be in a position that they're in right now. They truly are embodying what we're trying to be here at Frostburg, and I think that they're really, this year's seniors are really a pivotal class in trying to change the culture here at Frostburg, and I am so grateful for what they've done with and for this program over the past, again, just 3 years that I've been here. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do on their senior night, and yeah, it's just been a privilege to work with them over the past 3 years.
Coach Caitlin Thompson, thanks for joining us here on the Bobcast, but more importantly, get some rest. You've been on the road a lot these past few days, and just kind of decompress and recharge your batteries.
Thanks.
Welcome into another episode of the Bobcast, episode 3. And this is a podcast-style coaches show presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. My name is Fielder Dennis, here with Coach Shane Brookshire. And, Coach, we're talking cross-country. Strong outing at Hood with 3 runners in the top 20 finish. What impressed you the most about your team's performance this past week?
Definitely how quick they ran. I was not expecting our times to be nearly as fast, especially with it being on a cross-country course for the 5K. And so having so many athletes run faster than their projected time based off of their mile time trial a month ago was absolutely amazing to see. And
yeah, Coach, how was it just hitting the road, going to Frederick, running against Hood and some other schools? How was that just as an overall experience for you and the team?
I think it was a great experience to get on a fast course and see familiar competition for the team. They had been talking about how they'd raced against Messiah and Hood College and Hagerstown quite a bit in the past, and so and it was a familiar course. Like, they've ran the 8K version of it and the 6K version of it the last several years later in October, and to get on a 5K, and like they were pumped about it because they knew it's going to be a flat, fast course, and that they were expecting to see fast times from themselves, and they definitely produced that like when they got there. And I mean, it was, I think, having that kind of energy, that mentality of already knowing the course and already knowing what to expect and the kind of competition that they're accustomed to was motivating for them to produce good times.
You've spoken about Braxton Clark a lot on the Bobcast here early, and he delivered yet again, finished 8th at Hood. How do you see him improving here early in the season, and what improvements can he make going forward?
His times are remarkable right now compared to where I was expecting him to be at this time. Like, to go 16-13 like on a cross country course like this early as well. Like, it is exciting to see. Like it's like they can or he can definitely still improve on those times. Like we're still trying to figure out like the pacing for the 8K. But his projection for that 8K has converts to about 26:25, and which is well above like his PR pace or his PR from last year. His 16:13 was also um, one of the top times by a Frostburg cross country athlete since at least 2013. Like
Yep.
dating back just based off of the TFERS results, like that's about as far back as I can go. But it is the top time by about 18 seconds, and so I've said before that I think that he can definitely step up and be the leader on this team, like with his performances, and within these first two meets, he has already proven that.
Not to let the cat out of the bag, but I have seen Braxton Clark running up and down Main Street on my way on my commute from lunch back to here on campus. But at every meet, the host SID will send the pictures of the results and the winners' top 10. And there were a couple of Bobcats in the picture on the men's side with Braxton Clark. What can you tell me about the other runners from Frostburg State who finished in that top 10?
So we had Daniel Foster and Jake Rickards, and so Daniel Foster's a freshman, and I mean he ran 16:35. He actually ran a personal best 5K time on Saturday by about 27 seconds, and he was thrilled to see that. Like, I think he definitely has everything it takes to be a great miler, like at the college level, and he's got the leg speed, and he's obviously has the endurance. The future is bright with him. Like I mean, Braxton's a junior, so we're going to lose him in a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
But like having Daniel step up as a freshman and be one of our top runners right away is promising. And then Jacob Rickards, who's a senior, and he also had a phenomenal race on Friday. Like I was not expecting him to be under 17 minutes. He ran 16:37, just a couple seconds off of Daniel's time, and once again, I mean, since 2013, like those are three of the four fastest times turned in by a male cross country athlete at this school for a 5K distance. And so like we've got a solid front three, and like we just got to bring up a couple others to close the gap on that. And but like I said, it's promising to see them run this well this early, and then hopefully we can keep that up as we approach the championship part of the season.
My final question on the men's side, how much of a boost of it is it in confidence, finishing top three and running against teams that, like you said, they're familiar with in a mix of divisions?
Well, it's definitely a huge boost in confidence. Like I think is more so just based off of the times that they ran, like made them more confident. Like we knew that Messiah was going to be tough. Like they've got the depth, like they've got the talent on that team. Like in Eastern, like they obviously ran really strong as well, and so but we were hanging right in there with them until the very end. Like our pack of runners, like I mean we only have 9 guys out there, but like several other teams were pushing 20, and but we've got a quality 9 athletes, and so so they all came across the line strong. Like almost every single one of them had improved upon like their projected 5K. Like it wasn't just like our top 3; it was everybody ran well, and so it's motivating for them because like they ran well like at this meet, and like we've got one of our biggest meets of the year coming up this week, and so to run fast right before that like is just going to let them know that they can hang with some of these top teams that will compete against at Lock Haven.
Yeah, we'll get to Lock Haven here in a second. Sticking with the Hood Invitational, you're talking about moving to the women's side of things. How do you think they did in their 5K?
Well, several of them improved upon their 6K time from the previous week, like just converting it to a 5K. Like Natalie Gray came through at 23:21, and she's only been at practices for a little over a week. Like she did put in some mileage over summer, but hasn't really done much speed work, and so to see her go 23-21, like, I'm very impressed with. Like, very proud of that. Like, she um, like ran well last week at Bethany too. So like she started off these first two meets like pretty strong with not having a whole lot of speed in her. Ariana Ward, like this is her first time really doing cross country. Like she also dipped under her projected 5K based off of her 6K from the previous week, and so with her 24:52, and like I think that was a good showing for her, like especially being more of an 800 type runner. And um, Isabel Pereira, like she kind of had a rough outing at the last meet, and like she showed that she can fight through that, and she did well like this past weekend too. So like I think the women overall like did pretty well.
You mentioned the Lock Haven Invitational, one of the bigger meets this season. That's coming up this week. How familiar are your runners with the course? Are they at all? And for you personally, you're kind of in a whole new area of the country here. You know, you're kind of figuring things out. Have you heard anything about what to expect?
I do not believe that the cross country team has ever raced at Lock Haven. Not to my knowledge, unless they've held a D3 region championships there in the past, which I believe they have. I just don't know if any of these current runners have actually been on that course. Which I mean that generates excitement too because it's a brand new course for them, and I said they know that they're going to see some top competition at it with it being a region preview meet. For myself, like I have heard of Lock Haven, like just in my past coaching, I always kind of check in on all the other regions and see where my teams would stack up, like compared to other places in the country. And Lock Haven has always popped up as like being one of the top courses on the East Coast, like to producing solid times and having fast competition there. Like I mean, they've hosted the Atlantic Region Championships numerous times throughout in just the last 18 years. And so if you have a school that's hosting it multiple times, like over a short amount of span, like then obviously coaches are happy with the course, and it's the meet is ran well. So.
Coach Shane Brookshire, I'm looking forward to seeing how the team does. Like you said, this is kind of a checkpoint in the season for both squads at the Lock Haven Invitational. Thank you for joining us here on the Bobcast, and like I said, looking forward to this weekend.
Looking forward to it too. Thank you.
Welcome into the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. Fielder Dennis, and we are talking tennis. First conversation this year with Coach Jeff Splinter. Coach, welcome to the Bobcast here in 2019-20. We spoke with you last year. Excited to have you back.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, glad to be back. You know, had a great summer and brought in a lot of first-year players and, you know, guys and girls that are really excited to play this year. And, you know, our first match this past weekend went really well in terms of the culture and everything we're looking to provide. And it was good to put our first 2 weeks of practice into play there this past weekend. It was great.
Coach, let's talk big picture here for the entire season. For you specifically, what are your expectations for the team, both teams, this upcoming year?
Yeah, so I'm looking for our men and the women to really compete. We talk a lot about in practice of putting the last point behind us, focusing on the next one, and you know, our first match against Millersville was a good test to kind of put that into practice. There's a lot of different rule changes between Division III and Division II, starting with we played to 7 instead of 9, so the doubles point counts for 1 instead of 3. Okay. So it's really important we get off to that quick start. We want to get a nice lead going into singles. It's a difference of winning half of your singles matches versus having to win 4 or all of them. So we wanted to place a lot of emphasis on doubles play and moving our feet, just kind of getting really crazy and energetic. And then we started that from day one. We've done a lot of conditioning, a lot more intensity in practice where, you know, we're holding ourselves to a higher standard because we know the level of competition we're going to play is going to be at a higher standard. So, you know, we're trying to get above that in terms of work ethic and our intensity of play. You
said you want to see your team have a competitive edge. How would you describe playing competitive tennis? What is that in your eyes?
Yeah, so competitive tennis, you know, we preach is we're playing long points. We want to, you know, in Division II especially, players are more consistent. Players don't miss as much. So we got to make sure that when we're playing points out, we are hitting deep into the baseline. We're putting a lot of pressure on our opponent. And anytime we get a short ball, we're really going after it. So, competitive tennis and, things like that means we're really we're playing defense first, but being able to transition into offense as quickly as we can. Because Division II tennis don't get a lot of opportunities to be aggressive. So when you get those opportunities, you really have to go for it.
Talking both teams here, who are you excited about in terms of growth this season?
Yeah, everyone. I looked out onto the court on Saturday for a women's team especially, and we didn't have any juniors or seniors starting in the singles lineup. So it's a lot of first-year players, a lot of sophomores on the team, and led by Allison Paul, who's our captain again this year. And the team really rallies around her energy, and then around everyone else's kind of competitiveness, where they really want to be better, and they're out on the court all the time on their own. So for the women especially, that's a really encouraging thing, seeing all the younger players kind of step up and really challenge themselves. On the men's side, a lot of juniors on the team who've been here for a couple of years. It's just really encouraging to see how much they've improved from the summer. So Jeffrey Goldring, who played 4 or 5 singles last year, stepped up over the summer, has proved that he worked really hard, and he's playing 1 singles, 1 doubles this year. So it's a credit to his work ethic, and his brother Tim too.
What can having so much youth on the women's side, how can that benefit the team going forward? Just getting a lot of reps and experience to get some quality tennis players?
Definitely. I think, going into practice, they get a lot of practice time where a lot of repetition, just focusing on working on their shots. And then they get to play against mostly juniors and seniors who have been through it 3 or 4 years in Division II tennis, where, this is their first year. They don't know anything. And there's no expectations. So, they're not going in scared. They're not going in overconfident. They're just going in, what we talked about, working hard every single point, trying to win, trying to lay it all on the floor. We are playing super consistent tennis to where we're going to make our opponent beat us, or we're going to beat them.
Coach, you mentioned Allison Paul from the women's side as your team captain. Who are you looking at for leadership for both the women's and men's teams?
Yes, I think, our captains are Allison Paul on the women's side. Men's side, we have Tim Goldring. And they're the vocal leaders. They're the engines that kind of lead the platoon. But, everyone is in charge of themselves. And I tell them that in terms of tennis, academics, everything else is, we'll look out for them. But, of course, they have to take that initiative upon themselves and really want to be better. So, whether it's hitting one-on-one with some coaching staff, or, going out on their own and outside of practice time and getting better on the court, focusing on things they need to work on. We don't have any problems this year where players are willing to put in the extra effort, extra work to get better, especially this past weekend, noticing Millersville and kind of what Division II looks like. I think that's really going to light a fire going forward here is, we know what we can play as, and, on Saturday I feel like we didn't quite reach that level yet. So it's encouraging knowing we have a lot further to go. And, being a lot of first-year players, a lot of sophomores, there's 2-3 years of growth still that we can really tap into.
Seems like both rosters are kind of full of sponges, if you will. They're just trying to absorb as much information and playing time as possible. And that's really great to have, especially for a coach. You can really mold them, if you will.
Definitely. No, I think, being sponges here in the mountains of Frostburg is a must-have.
Absolutely. Coach, what about the Division II move and Mountain East Conference excite you?
Yeah, we're looking forward to playing a lot of different schools that we've never played before. Looking forward to being a little bit closer in terms of our match play schedule. So it's really nice. And then, this year we're doing a couple different things that we wouldn't have done in the past. So we're playing a singles and doubles invite tournament with Charleston and the rest of the conference starting in February. And this semester the men are going to be playing in the ITA tournament for Division II, and that'll be held at West Virginia Wesleyan, who is one of the the powerhouses in the Mountain East Conference. So, they'll get a chance to see the depth of the conference right away, and what Division II has to offer in terms of the best and the variety of and kind of where we fit into that mold. And then the women, same thing. We're playing a lot of different tournaments and a lot of different things that'll really push them to play better and see that competition and rise to the occasion.
You've kind of mentioned the Millersville meet earlier, the matches that played there. How would you assess how the teams played? You answered it slightly before, but get a little more detail and depth and how you thought everyone did.
Yeah, I think our first year players, I was really impressed with the level-headedness. I know first match it can be easy to get a little jittery, a little nervous, but looking across the court, didn't really feel that. Doubles went a little bit faster than I would have liked. With the new format in Division II, they play 1 set to 6 instead of a set to 8, and you could really feel the difference in terms of how long doubles takes. And we just talked about being able to hold our serve and control what we can control. And if another team has a really good serve and they're being really aggressive at the net, we just kind of have to let it happen. But really focus on what we're doing at the net, what we're doing on the serve, and holding that, because doubles should be able to go to a tiebreaker every time, because your serve is the weapon and you really have to be able to use it. So that was the one thing I really noticed, and we're going to keep working on is doubles. But other than that, I think going out there, seeing everyone being super confident and just kind of hitting their shots was really encouraging, especially for the first year players and the sophomores, really getting the good reps against a really good school in Millersville.
Coach, now in your second season here at Frostburg State, what are some of the differences you've seen between the two?
Yeah, so this year I feel like a lot more excitement. I feel I'm ready to go. I've been here for now 3 years, 3.5 total in terms of with the GA and the head coaching experience here at Frostburg. So just excited now that all the players on the team I've known pretty much the entire time. So it's a good camaraderie we have at practice. It's a really good atmosphere, and I feel like the team is completely where we want it to be in terms of everyone doing the right thing, everyone buying in. We don't have any 50%ers in practice or match play. Everyone's 100% bought in 100% of the time, and it's really encouraging for me. And it's been a great experience this year so far. Just kind of 4 weeks into the season, and really working hard. So.
Coach Jeff Splinter, thanks for joining us today on the Bobcast, and looking forward to chatting with you all this upcoming season. We go from spring and fall to spring, so we're talking to you a lot, much like Coach Shane Brookshire, so looking forward to it.
Hey, a great year-long sport, tennis. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.